Hey everybody, I am the friendly neighborhood bohemian. You're watching the Weird Beatnik channel. I noticed I haven't said that in my last video. And again, I'm too used to making music nowadays, so I don't really say that like I used to, but I'm getting back into it. Still gonna make music, so it's probably not gonna be as, constant, but it's getting really nice out actually. That's why I'm back outside nowadays. I like going outside when I can. Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. I think outside is perfect. God's nature. Uh, Today I wanted to talk about something. Oh, by the way, I hope you guys are keeping a positive attitude. I know it's hard. It's gonna be hard. Trust me, I know. I almost fall back in the trap of studying the Epstein files again, which, we shouldn't put our head in the sand, but like I said in our last video, we gotta stay positive, because by the end of the day, the rich and powerful wants us to be negative, so we are fighting against each other and not focusing on community. We're not focusing on family. We're not focused. And when I say family, I don't just mean mother and father, though that does count too. But family as in anybody can be your family. Your friends, your community even. That's why I say community. But they want us to take it all out on us when we should be focusing on how are we going to build our community for the future. Martin Luther King, even Jesus Christ didn't like say, hey, I'm gonna take money from donors and rich, powerful donors and throw money at it so I can get my cause across. You know what they did? Martin Luther King did speeches, very powerful speeches. Jesus Christ, he hanged out with all types of people, actually. Sinners, he hanged out with people who are artists, the outsiders in life. I mean, he felt like the biggest outsider at all, not because he was a sinner, but because he understood the only way to get his message across to people wasn't going to people who already knew his word, but going to people who actually who didn't understood his word that much. As somebody who always been an outside, you know me, I'm a musician. I'm an artist, amateur, but still a musician, artist, no less. We have to have a new folk hero, I feel. And it doesn't have to be a famous folk hero either. Not all folk heroes are famous. Maybe they're local. Which, hey, what's more folk hero than being a local? People, even the famous ones I admire, like Bob Dylan. He was, he wasn't perfect, but he was humble in the sense of, he didn't really want to be a folk hero, even though he had a lot of things to say, and I feel like that's very important. We often think that we have to, like I said before, we have to hate the other side, but when we hate the other side, look, we can hate what they stand for. Hate the sin, not the sinner. And I know a lot of people disagree with that phrasing. That's totally fine. I am a spiritual Christian, not a religious Christian. I'm not a Christian naturalist. I don't believe pushing it on anybody. Okay? Do I believe people need Jesus? Yeah. But I'm not gonna push it on people either. Because that's not even what Jesus taught. Jesus didn't push it on people. He if anything, he, like, adjusted it. You know what I mean? But he did it through means of kindness. He did it through means of niceness. He was nice. Sure, he was a little mean when he had to be mean. Like when he went after the heresies. But he was very nice. And by the way, these billionaires, not all, but a lot of these billionaires, like Epstein and stuff, or whatever, they were pretty much the modern day heresies. They were pretty much a concoction of evil crap. Okay? And another thing I want to point out too, and I believe this is heresies, Christians, we have to stop hating on our fellow gay, LGBT people, okay? I am bisexual, but I'm a Christian, and you know what? I know Jesus still loves me. It's not about a matter of, oh, if you're gay, even though God made you gay, that somehow means he hates you. No. He loves you no matter what. What he does despise, though, is the sick pedophiles. That is the one thing he does despise. And not every, yes, I know I'm kind of rambling on at this point, but I just feel like it's important. My aunt has once told me we need to be more progressive as Christians. And I was always a progressive person. I'm a prodigal son, basically, if I can be totally honest. I was somebody who felt like people who were Christians, even though my aunt and uncle never was. But I always felt like they were so Christians were so judgmental, where I just kind of stopped for a while. It got me to the point, though, where I was kind of missing the community. I wasn't even seeking... I guess I was seeking spiritual connection, but I was also just missing a community setting. And honestly, that's kind of where I had to understand, like, yeah, I need to get back to my community. And bam, I kind of found what I understood to be the Jesus within. Meaning, so when I say Jesus within, there's the Jesus of Nazareth, which is, which he is the Son of God and stuff. But you also, which is the same thing though, the Jesus within, it's just he's not around anymore. I mean, he's around, but he's not like, we don't just go up and see Jesus. We gotta pray, we gotta seek him within. And that's kind of how I understood it, at least, how I kind of interpreted it. And I do think the Bible, because prayer is the same thing as meditation in many ways. I know a lot of Christians would disagree with that. And I know there's a lot of controversies about that and so on. We can talk about it if you want, but I think people do miss the part even in the Bible it says meditate on good things. And I definitely believe that. I definitely think we should, even if, in fact, like I said, I don't believe pushing it on people, but even if you're not a Christian, you don't have to be a Christian, but at least try to focus on good things, and I promise you things will be better. Because again, it starts with yourself, and it starts with your community. That's the only way we can change the world. And again, I want peace on earth, but the only way to get there is through you, your community, and I would even say Jesus. You don't have to believe in that, by the way, but I'm just saying, that's what I believe. And I totally think we should be talking about, more universal health care, and hope. And you don't have to be a socialist or a communist. I'm not to believe in that, healthcare and safety nets. You just gotta be a good human being. I have autism. I need those things. And a lot of people do. Not just people with autism, but a lot of people do. And I generally believe that, Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video. I know I've been talking. Well, I hope it wasn't so heavy, because my point is just try to keep a decent amount of positivity with yourself. Power to the people. Power to the working class. But keep a positive mindset. Thank you.